Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast. This is our Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, USA Today's NFL Wire site that covers, of course, Arizona Cardinals. As we have our opponent preview, recording early in the week. The show won't get released until later in this week. It'll probably be Thursday, that Thursday or Friday that you're hearing this show. But we're recording early in the week with the end of the year coming, trying to get things out of the way. Episode 735. Speaking with Cam DaSilva, multiple show guest on the show, running the Rams Wire, frequent flyer on the show between the off season and during the season. Cam, welcome to the show again. Glad to have you as always. Hope you had a great holiday. I know you didn't love the outcome of the game yesterday, but I will say that the game was highly entertaining from someone who's not invested in either team that they were watching and is following it and is invested in a team that has given you nothing but just gross this year.
Yeah. It looked like it would be a blowout.
For sure, though, I thought the Falcons were going to Falcons that game.
I thought so, too.
I was 100%. I was watching it with my son, and it was like, the Falcons are going to blow this game. And they almost did. They almost did, man.
They should have. They really
did.
should have. The Rams should have won that game. Get the blocked kick, and you got all the momentum, and then the pick that Stafford threw was bad and just couldn't get down the field and score a touchdown.
So after having seen the Falcons play the previous week, the one thing, like, they're such a weird team because they have talent all over but never put it together, is that the defense was pretty good. Like they were able to basically eliminate Trey McBride from the game plan against Arizona. And by and large, I didn't see Puka making much of an impact until later in the game. Did you see that where the Atlanta schematically was taking away one part of that offense?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a smart thing to do. Are you going to let Puka beat you, or are you going to let Tutu Atwell and Konate Mumfield and Xavier Smith and Colby Parkinson beat you? The smart thing to do is to try to take away Puka and have Stafford throw to those other guys. And Puka really could have had a huge game. I mean, he had a 36-yarder called back by an illegal formation penalty, which was on DJ Humphries, your familiar friend.
DJ is, I couldn't believe, like, he is so washed, man.
He was bad.
So bad.
Yeah, so he cost him 36 yards on that one. It would have gotten down to like the 2-yard line. He had another 41-yard touchdown, awesome catch in the end zone that got called back by a holding penalty on Humphries. Humphries got beat on a 4th down and 1 run where he just whiffed on the defender and didn't get his block. So it was a really bad game from Humphries, and Puka could have had a really good game. I mean, he still had 10 targets and dropped a screen pass and almost made that ridiculous one-handed catch on the sideline at the end of the game. I thought he caught that, and then they showed one angle where he bobbled it a little, but he played well for what he was able to do, and the Falcons did a pretty good job taking him away.
Yeah. Aside from the game on Monday night, what has been the theme of the Rams season? They're having a fantastic year, playing in an incredibly weird NFC West. You look at this, like you look at the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers, and you look at all those teams and you look at the Rams and you say, I trust that team the most based on this offensive skill and the defense. Because while Seattle's got a great defense, they're off. I mean, everyone's waiting for Sam Darnold to turn into a pumpkin. Everyone is. And the 49ers are just missing two. While offensively they've heated up, they're just missing too many pieces on the defensive side of the ball to take seriously. But here the Rams are in third place they've clinched a playoff spot. They're playing in third place in the division. And what has been the feeling about this year? Because I hardly think that 11-5, probably 12-5 after they play the Cardinals this week, is an unsuccessful season. But to have to do it from the 5 or 6 seed is really surprising.
Yeah, I still think they're one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league, and I know that might seem crazy after losing to the Falcons, but they've had a really great season, and their losses have been weird. I mean, they blew it against the Eagles, they blew it against the 49ers and lost that game in overtime when they went for it on fourth down, which is fine, but Kyron fumbled in the like right along the end zone in that one. They lost to the Panthers where they scored 2 long touchdowns on fourth down. Stafford threw 2 picks, fumbled at the end, and then the Falcons game really hurt them, where they just didn't play well.
Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks game they choked away.
That was
wild. Choked away a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, and then this game where they just didn't play well. And after those first 4 losses, you could say like we played well enough to win that game. And this game against the Falcons was really their first poor showing where they just didn't show up. And I wonder a little bit about whether they lost some drive after seeing the 49ers and Seahawks win on Sunday and knock them out of NFC West contention, where they know they're locked into the 5th and 6th seed and don't have a ton to play for. I don't know for sure if that's a factor in this, but they just didn't play well. I mean, Stafford threw 3 interceptions. One of them was a pick 6. They ran the ball well, but really only at the end of the game when the Falcons were playing to protect against the pass and Kyron found some big running lanes. The defense did decently well against the Falcons pass rushers or pass catchers. Pitts had 16 yards. London had 4 yards. So, I mean, you shut those 2 guys down. But Bijan just gashed them with almost 200 yards on the ground and really just made them miss every single time he had the ball. It was shades of Saquon last year against the Rams. So, some things to clean up, but I still think they're one of the better teams in the league, and I think they can beat anyone.
Well, and it didn't help that DJ Humphries.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a bad game for him. Like I'm watching, like, big DJ Humphries fan, loved him when he was with the Cardinals. I wished him well. I hope he could have landed somewhere and play well, but that what seemed like the dude he's done. Like he was markedly like terrible in that game.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I can't believe they didn't have a better option than him at left tackle at halftime or before the game.
So, do you anticipate? You've got a really, really diverse attack offensively, the Rams, because Kyren Williams is having a really good year. The and on top of that, Blake Corum has really turned things up. Had that career game against the Cardinals, but he's got nearly 700 yards and 6 touchdowns on the year. Obviously, Puka Nacua, over 1,600 yards. He's got tied with Trey McBride for 119 catches. Then you've got Devontae Adams on the other side, who leads the NFL in 14 touchdown receptions. I'm like, and then you see the production that Colby Parkinson had in the game against the Falcons, even though like the tight end position is just kind of, but like, what is there any weak aside from DJ Humphries playing for Eric Jackson, are there any weaknesses to this offense?
Not really. I mean, like I said, this Falcons game, they didn't play well at all, but the 3 games before that, they scored at least 37 points in each one and had 500 yards in each one. One of them was that loss to the Seahawks, but the offense had been playing really, really well. I mean, they were moving the ball at will, converting on third down. They were barely even getting in third down situations before this Falcons game, and doing kind of whatever they wanted. 13 personnel, throwing to tight ends, running the ball really well, like you mentioned with Kyron and Corum. Stafford was playing well, and it just kind of all came crumbling down on Monday night, which I think is part of it was having DJ Humphries instead of Alec Jackson. You didn't have Kevin Dotson at right guard, and Devontae Adams was injured. So you're leaning on these backups with not a ton of motivation to play for the division title anymore. and it just they didn't play well. They didn't execute well enough. But I don't think there's really a weakness of this offense, to be honest. The offensive line is really good when it's healthy. The run game has come on, and Kyren Williams has looked markedly better this season, as with Blake Corum subbing in and taking some of the workload off of him. And the tight ends, they're using 13 personnel, and all of them are getting involved. And Terrence Ferguson's become kind of a downfield threat from the tight end position against linebackers, which is a game changer for McVay. So no real weaknesses. The defense is the bigger question mark, but the Rams can kind of score at will when they're playing well.
The one thing statistically that you can technically do against the Rams is you can run the ball against them, which was the problem with the Cardinals because they can't run the ball. And so if you can't run the ball against the one weakness that the Rams have, then you're doomed. And that's what led to the 45-17 blowout. But I mean, pass rush wise, Byron Young is doing well. Kobe Bryant, continues to that draft pick to go from Aaron Donald and then to pick up on day 3 a guy, he's not Aaron Donald, no, but in terms of pass rushing production is as productive from the interior as you will get from an interior pass rusher. Then you've got the dominance of Jared Verse, only 6.5 sacks, but the way he impacts games. And then the addition of Nathan Landman, the way that he's played at the second level of the defense. And then it just seems like the Rams, who, and I've talked to you about this before, a couple of years ago when they looked old and washed up, just like that, turned into a young, productive, promising defense. And as an outsider in the same division, you know how frustrating that is.
Yeah.
That's not real life.
Nope. No, it's crazy. Yeah, they've really built a defense so quickly, really from the inside out. Starting with that defensive line after losing Aaron Donald to retirement. They've got Jared Verse, like you mentioned, Kobe Turner, Byron Young's playing well. They added Poona Ford. They have Braden Fisk, and then Landman's made a huge difference at inside linebacker. He's playing really well. But the biggest question marks with this defense, I think, are in the secondary, where you've got just kind of a collection of cornerbacks who are okay. You don't have that shutdown guy. You don't have someone you can trust in a big spot. Emmanuel Forbes has been okay. Kobe Durant's been okay. They're kind of wishy-washy on their third cornerback with Darius Williams and Akella Witherspoon. Each of them has been a healthy scratch in the last 3 weeks. So they're kind of playing it by matchup, who they're going to have up. So I think against the bigger Drake London, they wanted Akella Witherspoon instead of the 5'9" Darius Williams. So they made him a healthy scratch. Quentin Lake is hopefully going to come back for the playoffs. I don't know if he's going to be back this week, but they've got some talent in the secondary, but just kind of a middling group where it's not, you don't have that one shutdown cornerback. You don't have a huge playmaking safety back there, but they limit big plays for the most part, and can do pretty well against certain wide receiver groups.
And so with the news that came out today, do you think the Rams will kick the can on Trayvon Diggs?
It's
a very
possible.
Rams move, by the way.
Yeah. I certainly wouldn't claim him and take on that contract, but if he gets through waivers and you get a free agent signing with him and get him for cheap, it's not a bad idea. He has his flaws and he gambles a lot on the outside and can take some chances that he shouldn't. And he's not the most willing tackler, which I don't know how that would fit with the defense that McVay and Chris Shula have built, but I would take a chance on him. I mean, you've got not much to lose, and I just don't know if they would want to take a chance on someone like him this close to the playoffs and try to have him learn their scheme and take to it that quickly with the season on the line.
Makes sense. Coming up next on the Rise Up Seer podcast, the Star Cardinals Talk on the Web. Let's look ahead to the matchup in Week 18, Cardinals-Rams, what to expect, and more. That's coming up next on Rise Up Seer. We're back on the Rise Up Seer podcast, the Star Cardinals Talk on the Web, as we talk with Cam DaSilva from the Rams Wire. We look at Cardinals-Rams in Week 18. Obviously, the Week 14 game went about as badly for the Cardinals as you can possibly imagine, as 45-17. And not only that, it went from 10-10 to 45-10. And the Cardinals actually started out okay, but it just went downhill in a hurry. They couldn't stop Kyron Williams. They couldn't stop Blake Corum. They couldn't stop Puka Nacua. They couldn't do anything against that. And then they couldn't run the ball. And then while Jacoby Brissett's line, that's been the story of Jacoby Brissett pretty much all this season, is that, his stat line looks good, but nothing else about the game looks good, as the Cardinals have not scored more than they've averaged on offense, because they had the 24-point game against Jacksonville, but they scored a defensive touchdown. The offense has scored 18.3 points per game in their last 8 since they beat in their 8-game losing streak. Brissett's got 21 touchdown passes to 7 interceptions, but it feels like fool's gold. The Cardinals can't run the ball. They fall behind, and they're like, I'll give you the numbers. Last week, this past Sunday against Cincinnati, the league's worst defense, giving up the most yards and the second most points in the entire NFL. Cardinals had their worst offensive output. They're scoring only 14 points, had 233 yards of offense, and through the first 3 quarters, had 87 yards and 7 points in 6 drives, going 3 and out 5 times. And then the fourth quarter, when they were down by 30 points, that's when they got 142 of the yards that they had. It was abysmal offensively. But Jacoby Brissett's line, he had 212 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Michael Wilson, and so Jacoby probably got some fantasy people a championship. And if they had Jacoby and Trey McBride, who had 10 catches and a touchdown. And so that's kind of been the story, is that they can't do anything defensively. And so I look at this game and I'm like, well, if the only thing that the Rams have a weakness is it against the run, and you look at the Cardinals personnel at running back, it's Michael Carter, Amari DiMercado, and a Corey Kiner. I'm still not sure what a Corey Kiner is. So I don't know what to look about this game. And Sean McVay did say that the starters will play, but my question is, how much do you think they'll play? Will it be like a preseason? Is it going to be like a series or 2 or a quarter or 2 and then get them out? I mean, obviously with a 53-man roster, you can't really sit all your starters, but is this a game where we're going to see Jimmy Garoppolo and Blake Corum for the rest of the game with no Puka, no Devontae, and a whole bunch of Tutu and the other guys?
Yeah, I think that would make the most sense. You get the starters in there for a quarter or a half. You run all over the Cardinals and throw it all over the field and go into the playoffs thinking we're fixed and we're all better now, and get your starters out of the game. And I don't really see a point to playing them for the entire game if the Rams have nothing to play for and they're locked into that number 6 seed. I mean, if you're up 21-0 on the Cardinals at halftime, why are you gonna keep, and you're playing well, why are you gonna keep those starters in there for the second half and risk an injury that's going to derail your entire season for absolutely nothing, just to feel better about how the offense is going into the playoffs? Like you mentioned, with a 53-man roster, you can't rest everyone. It's not the preseason where you have 90 guys, but I could easily see them taking some of their starters out in the second half and just kind of cruising into the playoffs, as long as they look good in the first half and they kind of get back to what they've been doing. But if they continue to struggle, maybe McVay just keeps putting them out there and trying to figure it out. But this is like, in the past couple of years, he's preferred rest over seeding significantly, like put seeding aside and didn't care about it at all. So I find it hard to believe that he's going to stick to his guns and keep everyone in the game for 4 quarters in a game that could be completely meaningless. I mean, if the 49ers lose and they have a chance to get the 5 seed, absolutely go out and win the game, because there's a big difference between going to Philly or going to Chicago and going to Charlotte or Tampa Bay in the first round. So that's where I would play for the win against the 5 seed. But if the 49ers win and knock the Rams out of that 5 seed, then by all means, rest guys.
Have given up 27 or more in 4 of their last 5 games. Is that something of concern as we go into week 18 against the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals only put up 17 against them? Granted, they did score 10 early. Is the defense a question mark in this matchup?
Not in this matchup, but I think as a whole, going into the playoffs, I think you could say it is.
I love hearing that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get hollow. You're going to get hollow yards from Jacoby when it's a blowout in the fourth quarter. But the Cardinals didn't even try to run the ball last time they played the Rams. I don't know if they're even going to try to again with the players that they have at that position. But yeah, the defense is a little bit of a concern. I mean, they've played some good offenses in that span. They played the Lions, the Seahawks, and the Falcons. I mean, they scored 27, but Stafford gave him 7 of those with a pick 6, and some good field position with his other interceptions. But it's a little bit of a concern, yeah. But they just need to they need to get the secondary figured out, get the pass rush going again, which it's playing fairly well. It's good enough. It was dominant in the playoffs last year against the Vikings and the Eagles, but yeah, it's built around the front of that defense, where they generate pressure, take some of the heat off of the cornerbacks needing to cover for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and go from there. But yeah, there's questions about the secondary, especially.
If we're looking at matchups, what matchups are you going to be watching in this particular game?
I think the receivers for the Cardinals against the Rams secondary, Michael Wilson's a bigger receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't know if he's going to play. I'm assuming he will because he's been in and out of the lineup, playing limited snaps the last couple of weeks. Another bigger receiver. And those are kind of the guys who have given the Rams a little bit of trouble because their corners are smaller. With Emmanuel Forbes, he's long, but he's frail. Akella Witherspoon's got good size. Kobe Durant's not the biggest guy, and Darius Williams is not the biggest guy either. So I think that's the biggest weakness of the defense right now, and that's something that McVay and Chris Shula will want to see improvements on. And against the Cardinals team that is not afraid to throw the ball, that's where you want to see improvements from that group. So those will be the matchups that I'm looking at.
Next on the Res is Here podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. Let's make our predictions. It's early in the week, but why not? That's coming on next on Res FC Red. We're back on the Rise is Here podcast, best of our Cardinals talk on the web. How do you see this game playing out? Obviously, it was a runaway win against the Cardinals in Week 14. Do you see more of the same, or do you think it will end up, especially if you think that they're going to pull guys in the second half, that it will be a tighter game? Right now, it's a 7.5. It opened at 8.5. It moved to 7.5. The spread still favored by a little more than a touchdown.
Yeah, that's a risky spread for the books to set because you don't know what the Rams are going to do with their starters. They could play a half, they could play a quarter, they could play the whole game. 7.5 feels like a low number. If the Rams are going to play their starters, obviously they could take their foot off the gas and put in Jimmy and all the backups. But 7.5 feels like a low number in this game, considering A, the Rams have owned the Cardinals since 2017, and B, they just blew them out by 28 points a few weeks ago. I think they could easily beat them by 10, 20 points. It's just a big talent gap right now between these two teams. And if the Rams offense is back on track and healthy, I think they could easily put up 30, 40 points on this Cardinals defense, especially with it being the last week of the season. Guys lose a little motivation. Tackling gets a little bit worse. So this is the perfect, ideal get-right game for the Rams before the playoffs.
And they're willing to run the ball. The Cardinals don't stop the run particularly well. They gave up 101 yards to a guy named Jawar Jordan, who had never played. They gave up a big game to Bijan Robinson, which you're familiar with how that goes. Chase Brown had a big game. Blake Corum had his career high just a few weeks ago against the Cardinals, and it wasn't as if Kyron Williams did nothing. They rushed for what would they go for? It was over 200 yards. It was 212 yards combined from Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, and I don't anticipate the Cardinals being able to significantly improve that because they simply don't have the guys to be able to do it. I think this will be something like a 30-17 game, 31-17 type game.
Yep.
And it'll probably include a fourth quarter garbage time touchdown because that's what the Cardinals do best.
Jacoby Brissett got to inflate those stats.
And then make people feel better about the quarterback position moving forward. I don't know, man. I don't know. But the Rams, my oldest daughter has adopted the Rams for the rest of the season as the team that she's rooting for, since the Cardinals are hot garbage.
Good choice.
Well, it's hard not to like Matthew Stafford, especially if he can end this season with the champ. That will basically punch his Hall of Fame. Like, he's right there. He's already right there. But to get that second ring would really kind of punt, probably first ballot type status between the volume of work that he did in Detroit to have the magical year when they won the championship before, and then to roll it back again to do that. It would, and especially with the year that he's having, like MVP type year, and doing it against tougher opponents than like Drake May is doing.
I think he gave away the MVP last night. Unfortunately, the books have Drake May as a huge favorite now, but he's just played so well all year, and I think it's something to be said too that he's been part of 3 of the greatest receiver seasons ever, with Calvin Johnson setting the record, Cooper Kupp setting with the Triple Crown, and then Puka with his record-setting rookie year. I mean, there's something historic that you should take into account when you're considering his Hall of Fame status with those types of numbers, and then doing it this late in his career, almost winning MVP possibly, and maybe another Super Bowl. He's certainly right there knocking on the door to get in.
All right. Well, Cam, thank you for your time on the show as always. You can find Cam's work over at the Rams Wire as always, as he gives the best coverage over there, our sister site there. But Seth and I will be, I believe, so we're actually recording this before Seth and I do our review show. So you probably already heard me and Seth do our show on the Cardinals-Bengals game. And hopefully, if schedules align, we will do a preview show as well. So this will be show 2 or 3 of the week. But until then, that's Cam DaSilva. Thanks for being on as always. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening as always. We'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up, See Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms, so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be Red, See Red, and of course, Rise Up, See Red.